Every day, from the moment you wake up, you make decisions. From what clothes to wear, whether to have tea or coffee for breakfast, or even what movie to watch. While some decisions are complex, some can be relatively simple, and you make them based on whether some condition is either true or false. For example, if it's raining outside, you will likely bring an umbrella. The condition here is the weather. If it's raining, you take an umbrella. If it's not, you don't. In this video, you will learn about the if statement, the if-else statement, and how Booleans and logical operators are used in conditional expressions. In Swift, there are pieces of code called conditionals, and developers can use them to run code based on whether the condition is met. Using these statements, developers determine how they are going to execute the code. There are many types of conditional statements, but the first one you will learn about is called the if statement. The if statement checks a condition and executes a code block inside curly brackets if the condition is met or true. If the condition is not met or not true, the code is not executed. The condition criteria are essential here. The block of code is only executed if the condition is evaluated to the Boolean value of true. You can use different types of comparison and logical operators to evaluate the condition, and you may recall learning about them in a previous video. These operators include equal to, greater than, less than, and not equal to. Now let's explore a scenario where you need to print a statement based on the temperature of the water to check if it's freezing, which happens at 0 degrees Celsius. First, you declare a constant named water temp and assign it a value of 0, the freezing point. You write let water temp equal 0. Next, you create a conditional statement, which is the if statement, and use the equal to operator to check if the value of the variable named water temp is equal to 0. You type if water temp, two equal symbols, 0. If this condition is satisfied or true, then the code block inside the curly braces is executed. In this example, it's a print function to print the text, the water is freezing. Since this condition is true, the print function is executed and outputted to the screen. Now, if you want to run some other code when the condition is not satisfied or false, then you can use an else statement, which follows the if statement. Notice that the else statement does not have a condition associated with it. Its purpose is to execute code when the criteria for the if condition is not met. Let's use our check water scenario again, but this time to check if the water is boiling or not, and print out the appropriate statement. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, so in this scenario, you will check if the water temperature is greater than or equal to 100. First, you declare a variable named water temp and assign it a value of 92. So you type let water temp equal 92. Next, you create an if statement. If water temp is greater than or equal to 100, and open curly brace to check if this condition is true. If this condition is satisfied or true, it executes the next command. Print the water is boiling, which is inside the curly braces. However, the water temperature is 92 degrees, which means the condition is not met and the print function is not executed. So how do you print a message saying that the water is not boiling? You can use an else statement, and the code inside the else statement is executed when the if condition is not met or false. Then the print function, the water is not boiling, inside the curly braces of the else block is executed. Since the value of the variable water temp is less than 100, the criteria in the if statement is not met, so the else block of code is executed, and it prints the statement, the water is not boiling. So far, you've learned about using conditionals based on one or two criteria. However, in the world of programming, things are often not that simple. Sometimes you need to check across multiple conditions, and to do this, you use the else-if statement. Using the else-if statement, you can nest multiple if statements to test many conditions that depend on each other. The last else is used to catch all the other remaining outcomes. For example, suppose you want to create some code to check where you finished in a race and print the result. The code checks against a value stored in a variable named position. It reads var position equals 2. Then it checks. If position equals 1, print you came first. Then you have an else if. Else meaning your position is not 1, and if to check if position equals 2. If this is true, then print you came second. And finally, a second else statement, meaning your position is not 1 and not 2. If you did not finish in the top 2, you just receive a message saying you did not finish in the top 2. Let's cover this in more detail. First, you create an if condition to check if the value stored in the variable position is equal to 1, and if true, print the result. Second, you create an else if condition to check if the value stored in the variable position is equal to 2, and if true, print the result. Finally, you create an else block to execute the code that is not satisfied by the first 2 conditions. Since the value stored in the variable position is 2, the else if condition is satisfied, or true, and its block of code runs and prints, you came second. The important thing to remember here is that with conditional statements, Swift will keep checking until the criteria is true or until it reaches the end. Okay, let's switch to how you can use Boolean operators with your conditional criteria. Using Booleans, you can test if something is true or false. You can do this creating a variable cold outside, for example, and writing something like if cold outside equal true print, put on a warm coat. It's also possible to rewrite the conditional criteria for Booleans by omitting the equal to operator. This is because both conditional criteria must satisfy to either true or false, and Boolean values can only contain true or false. So you can just write if cold outside, print, put on a warm coat. Next, you can use the logical AND operator to combine multiple Boolean expressions. You may recall that the logical AND operator returns true if both sides of the expression are true. For example, you can check the range of the temperature of water and print the result using an if-else statement. First, you write var temperature to declare the variable and then assign it a value of 69. Then you check if temperature greater than or equal to 68 and temperature less than or equal to 72, print the temperature is just right, else print the temperature is too hot or too cold. Likewise, you can use the logical OR operator, which returns true if one of the sides of the expression returns true. For example, suppose you have 2 variables, mains power set to false and battery power set to true. You can use an if-else statement to print whether either you can use your device or better find a charger. The if statement checks if mains power or battery power, then I can use my phone. The criteria here in the if statement uses the logical OR operator to check if either variable is true, and the else statement prints better find a charger when both conditions are false. Since the variable battery power is true, the if condition is satisfied and its block of code runs and prints I can use my phone. In this video, you learned about the conditional statements if, else, and else if. You also learned how to use operators in your condition criteria to evaluate and check for true and false. Conditional statements are a powerful tool and one of the fundamentals you need to master when programming in Swift.